Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are continuing on our hurricane marathon, and one of the foods that I've had several requests for is Nulo. And so they have dog and cat, so we're gonna jump into some dog and cat Nulo fun here right now. So if you are new, welcome to the channel. We review a lot of pet food on this channel, a lot of education, try to educate you guys on topics that you find interesting. If you are new to the pet food and industry and just getting into that, feel free to check out my Foundationals playlist and bring yourself up to speed on some of the things that are important when evaluating pet foods. I'm going to walk you through it, but if you want a little bit more in detail, please be sure to check out that playlist. I will link it down below. We are going to go through using a pet food scoring system that I totally made up. I developed it because a lot of times marketing gets the best of us. They know that we love our pets. Pets are our family members, and they use that as a tool to manipulate us into buying their product, even if their product isn't keeping the pet's best interest at heart. So a lot of these companies are that. They are companies, they have to meet a bottom line. A lot of them are publicly traded. They have, quotas they have to meet. And so they have marketing teams that are marketers. They're not necessarily pet lovers. They are hired to do what they do best. And that is get you to buy things. And so I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think if a company highlights really important things and, encourages purchasing a food that is truly nutritious, I think that's great. But unfortunately, a lot of these companies use marketing to hide some of their shortcomings. And so I'm going to do my best to point those things out for you. I don't make food recommendations on this channel. I simply give you the information and allow you to make the decision. And so that's what we're going to do today with Nulo. So we're going to start out with cat. We're going to go ahead and go to their website, which is nulo.com. We are going to check out the cat. The best fit for felines. Shop all cat foods. Okay, a couple options there. Got some canned options. Kitten options. Which one should we pick? Let's do the chicken and cod. Now it says it's a high protein. High protein is one of those buzzwords. They say high protein because they know that people understand that cats are carnivores, and one would think that carnivores just need a lot of meat. And that is true. But they also need a specific amount of that meat. There is an acceptable range. More is not better. More does cause kidney disease in cats, especially senior cats. Most cats, and I will say this from experience, veterinary standpoint, most cats over the age of 7 are going to have some degree of renal impairment. That is just the cat as a species. We have a lot of markers that we use to determine that. There's a lot of advances in detecting kidney disease early. There's not a whole lot that you can do about that as a cat as a species, but there is things that you can do with the diet. And I know a lot of you guys are here to better your pet's health through nutrition. There are things that you can do with nutrition to help slow that process down. And so feeding an appropriate amount of protein and feeding the correct range of minerals is one of those important things that you can do. I am going to pop up here as we go through that the established guidelines. Those guidelines come from the text Small Animal Clinical Nutrition. There's a link down below if you want to read through the cat chapter. It's a free version of the newest version, and so I do encourage you to do that if that's something that interests you and you don't want to simply take my word for it, which is fine because, I wouldn't necessarily do that either. We are going to, let's see. Let's go through the package really quickly. Okay, Nulo, we've got a picture of the cat. It is grain-free, which is not my favorite. There are very few instances where grain-free has caused issues in cats, and that may be that it doesn't really cause an issue. It may also be that a lot of people, unfortunately, do not take the time or the effort to properly work up cat diseases. I hate to say that, but that is statistically true. In my practice, I would say we see 80% dogs and 20% cats, and it's not because we don't like cats. It's just that It's difficult, I know, to get cats in a carrier. It's difficult to bring cats to the vet. And so I think a lot of cat diseases and things are underrepresented just because we don't see them. And so I do recommend staying away from grain-free in cats if possible. And so as we go through the point scoring system, they will be losing a point for that. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now it says cat and kitten food. That is going to be an issue because a cat and a kitten have very different nutrient requirements. And so when a kitten is born, very tiny. And in about 9 months, that kitten, which is born at, just a few ounces, is a 10-pound cat. And so in order to sustain that growth, they require a lot more nutrient. When that cat, and we all know it, gets to adulthood, and they spend the majority of their day chilling out on the couch, looking out the window, and wanting to go eat. And if the buffet is open, they're going to eat. Those cats are prone to obesity. And so a cat and a kitten have very different nutrient requirements. And so in my opinion, a food cannot be good and be tailored to both cat and kitten. It is just not numerically possible. And so this is alluding to the fact that this is most likely an all life stage food, and they are trying to combine and kind of fudge the numbers a little bit to try to make that the case, when in reality a cat and a kitten can really never have optimal nutrition be in the same level. It's a chicken and cod recipe. Says it's premium, high animal. What does that say? High animal-based protein. High animal-based protein. So it's saying it's a high protein with 83% coming from animal sources. And it's a small disc shape. There are some cats that do have a specific texture preference, so that might be important to you. And then they've got probiotics in there. Let's see the back of the package. It's going to be a little bit blurry, so we're not going to be able to use this graphic, so we're going to hope that it is all here. Actually, it is all here because I did make sure that that was the case. Okay, and the ingredients and the analysis. So we already talked about the ingredients being, ingredients to me are the icing on the cake, right? We want the nutrients to be there. And then once we get the nutrients, then we can have the dessert. And to me, the ingredients are the dessert. First, we need to have the bulk of the ingredients, the bulk of the nutrients correct. And then we can worry about, once we have established that they're correct, if they're correct, we're going to find that out. If they're correct, we're going to find out if we can find, the ingredients that we want to fulfill that nutrient requirement, not the other way around. We don't want to pick our ingredients and then try to force them to make the nutrients correct, because that doesn't always work. And we're going to work through this food and see if that's the case, because they're touting ingredients. What really I would want is them to tout nutrients, because it's very difficult to go from the ingredients you want to the nutrients. I feel like it should be the other way around, personally. So they've got deboned chicken, chicken meal, turkey, cod, all the things that they promised. They aren't grain-free, so they're going to lose a point there, but they aren't raw, so they get 1 point. So there's 10 points in my pet scoring system. Totally made it up. And the reason why I did that is I want us to focus on and have a way to stay on track with what's really important. And then once we get, these numbers, we can compare foods on the important stuff, and then we can start adding stuff back in that is, additionally important to us. So things like the ingredients, sustainability, that kind of thing. Those are secondary to me. I'm a numbers person, so the nutrients are always primary to me. So I developed this pet scoring system, which we'll go through. It's 10 points total. The closer you get to 10, theoretically, the more, the higher scoring, the more perfect, if there is such a thing, the food is. So they are going to get 1 point for not being raw, but they're going to lose a point for being grain-free. So 1 point so far. Calorie content, we're going to use that to calculate if they're recommending the right amount of food on their feeding guide. Not everybody wants to calculate things, so it's nice when a company is paying attention to that. And this food is 486 kcals per cup, and so we're going to use that later. Now, we're getting into the AFCO statement. There's 2 points here. They get a point if the food is feeding child, if they've undergone these studies to actually certify the food as feeding child versus formulated. Formulated means they just, followed some sort of a recipe that, they're sure that, make sure that it's okay, but they didn't actually test it. and then it's the correct life stage. So this food, freestyle cat and kitten, chicken and cod recipe, is formulated, so they don't get a point there, to meet the nutritional levels by AFCO for all life stages. So we talked about that earlier. It is legally acceptable to put cat and kitten together, but from a veterinary standpoint, it is not appropriate. And so they're going to lose 2 points here. They're not going to get any points for the AFCO statement because of that fact. So far, we are getting 1 point for the ingredient list. Now we're going to go to the guaranteed analysis. Now, as it is listed on the package, and as it is listed right here, you can see that it's minimums and maximums. These numbers are not the numbers that we want. These numbers are A, on an as-fed basis, so they include moisture, and we don't want that. The standards are on a dry matter basis. You can check out my video on how to calculate that if you want to. You can also just call the company and get those nutrients on a dry matter basis as, exacts, not minimums and maximums, because what's a minimum? Minimum 40, okay, well, maximum could be 5,000. We don't want that. We want to know exactly what it is. Now, I know that this company actually does post right here, get full nutrient panel. If you click on that, they've got a really nice graphic that has everything listed, for us exactly like we want. And so, as you can see here, let's see if I can bring it up for you. Here is the guaranteed analysis on the package. Here is what it is as fed, and then what it is on a dry matter basis. And for those of you that like to do it on units per kcal metabolizable energy, that's there for you as well. I'm not used to doing it that way, and so I try to stay in my lane. So I do it based on this dry matter basis. But if that is something that you're familiar with, there you go. It's listed there for you. So let's pull up our cat. Okay, so these are the standards from Small Animal Clinical Nutrition. These are established standards. I didn't make them up. That textbook's linked if you would like to peruse it in the description box. It's a free link. And we are going to go, that's for the pricing. Let's see. We're going to go down this list here. So optimal protein for a cat is going to be between 30 and 45. Too less obviously is an issue. It's a deficiency. Too much protein is an overdose. I mean, that is the reality of it. More protein is not necessarily better. It's a nutrient just like any other nutrient. You can overdose on vitamins. You can overdose on water even. And you can overdose on protein. And so think of it that way. Let's get out of the marketing mindset that these companies have put into place where more protein is better and more protein is better. Let's get it right in our minds. More protein, anything that you're feeding pet, anything you're using as a treatment for your pet, anything in excess, what is the word that we use for that? Overdose, okay? So excess of protein, excess minerals, that is overdosing your pet. So let's stay away from that. Let's keep that in our mind as we're evaluating this. So protein should be between 30 and 45%. If we come over here on the chart, let us find it. Protein, okay. So you can see the difference right here. The minimum and maximum said minimum of 40. They're guaranteeing you get at least 40. And so when we look at our chart, we're like, okay, good, 40. 40 is right where we want it to be. When we go to as-fed, that bumps up to 40.25. And then when we go up to the dry matter basis, that goes to 44.25. And so it is still appropriate. So we're good. We're going to get a point there. But you can see the difference and why it's important if you're going to be serious about pet nutrition that you need to get this on a dry matter basis. So you either need to calculate it, which I have a video explaining how to do that, or you need to call the company and get it. Or if they list it like that, that's awesome. But you need to look at that, and you need to avoid looking at just the numbers on the package, because those are going to be minimums and maximums most likely. That's what they're required to put on the package. Let's go to calcium, because that's another important one. Or actually, let's do fat while we're here. 22.25 on fat. That's perfect. It needs to be between 10 and 30, so yay. We've got 2 points there so far. Let's go to calcium and phosphorus, because those are big ones on cats. Those are really important to me on cat. All right, calcium, very important that that level is calcium at 1 and phosphorus at 0.8. Overdosing cats on, again, we're using that terminology, overdosing cats on calcium and phosphorus causes major issues with kidney stones, Bladder stones, if any of you guys have had a blocked cat, male blocked cat, and that is a life-threatening emergency. Excess calcium and phosphorus can lead to that. It causes increase in higher risk and kidney disease. Senior cats absolutely should not be having elevated minerals, and so we want to make sure this is on point. This is really important to me in a cat food. It kind of is a deal breaker for me if this is not correct. They're listing their calcium at 1.77 and their phosphorus at 1.25. That to me is, even if this was the only thing and this scored an 8 on the pet food scoring system, I still wouldn't feed this food because of the excess in the calcium and the phosphorus. So they're obviously going to lose 2 points there. They're getting 2 points for the protein level and the fat level, but they're absolutely losing it on this calcium and phosphorus. And so that's just my opinion. You can factor that in on how important that is to you. But to me as a veterinarian that sees kidney disease and blocked male cats, blocked female cats, actually, I've only ever had one in my career, but blocked cats, that is important to me because those are really, kidney disease is not necessarily reversible. A cat that has a urinary obstruction, that can be reversible and fixable, but A, it's extremely painful, B, sometimes we can't fix them in time, and we lose them, and C, it's very costly. So let's avoid that if we can by feeding appropriate calcium and phosphorus parameters. Fiber needs to be less than 5. Let's see if they list the fiber here. I'm sure they do. Yeah, 3.84. Okay, so we're going to get 3 points in the guaranteed analysis. We got 1 point in the ingredient list, and we lost both points in the AFCO statement. So we're up to 4. The last thing where they can get a point and redeem themselves and get, maybe 1 more point is going to be on the feeding guide. So let's see what we are recommending as feeding guide. So if we remember, it was 486 calories per cup. It's an all life stage food, so see they're having to put all these numbers here, which is way too much. So it says a cat's requirement may vary from guidelines due to age and breed and activity level. Yes, the feeding guide is just a suggestion, but there is an actual correct way to calculate that. It's not just how you feel. It is actually a calculation for that, and so we want it to be close to that calculation. All right, so we're going to say for an adult, so a normal adult cat, if you're calculating the resting energy requirement, it usually ends up to be about 200 calories per day. And so we're going to use, kind of this reference where it says 2/3 to 3/4. And it was 400 and, what was it? It was 486. So 486 times 0.75. It's quite a bit in excess. Closer at the half. So I'll give them a point there. There are some multipliers that you can use when calculating the resting energy requirement. Most cats are overweight, so I don't use the multiplier. They tend to be obese prone, especially if you free feed your cat, which I don't recommend. I usually recommend time feedings just so you can't really keep tabs on it. But we'll go ahead and give them a point for that. So they're going to get a 5 on the pet food scoring system, but I am really disappointed with the calcium and phosphorus. So it's important to me as, a veterinarian, and I'm sure your pet's veterinarian would feel similar. Feel free to ask them. I'm sure they would appreciate, your, asking them this question as well. Is that important to you? I think it should be. All right, so let's go on to dog. Dogs have different nutritional requirements, right? Cats are not dogs are not cats. Let's see. Every dog has their dish. All right. Alright, we're not going to get into the freeze-dried raw thing. I do want to get into that. I actually know quite a bit about freeze-drying. I own a freeze-dry. I do freeze-dry, and so there are a lot of misconceptions about freeze-drying that I think people don't realize and don't understand because the marketing companies are banking on the fact that you don't know about freeze-drying. And so we're going to get into that once I get my freeze-dryer fixed so that we can have a good demonstration on that. So we're going to stick over here with the high meat kibble. We're going to hit shot now. Oh wow, we got a lot of stuff here. Challenger high protein kibble alpine ranch beef, lamb, and pork recipe. Got some fish ones. Turkey and sweet potato. Wow. They got a lot of options. You can even load more. Oh, which should we pick? Oh, we'll just do this one. Got 4.7 stars. This is the Challenger high protein kibble alpine ranch beef, lamb, and pork recipe. So there's a picture of it right there. It is just a regular kibble, kind of a triangle-y shape there. Let's see the front of the package, anything jumping out there. Got the ingredients, 90% of protein from animal sources. I mean, basically they're just saying, it doesn't come from soy and protein from corn, because corn actually does have protein. People forget that. The benefit of feeding, just on a side note, and we'll see if it meets the parameters, the benefit of feeding corn, at least some degree of corn as a protein source, is corn doesn't have minerals in it. And so a lot of companies that are doing it correctly will actually use corn to bring down the mineral content. When you just put meat, those diets tend to be high in the mineral content, which we know is a bad thing. So it's all about balance, right? It's not about shunning a certain ingredient. It's about using the ingredients harmoniously to make the best food. So, my opinion. So take that or leave it. But we are going to go through that now. Now we can look at the package, but I'm sure that this food actually has one of those lovely charts for us as well, a little printout thing. So let's see if we can find it. So, point scoring system. I'm going to go through it just like we went through with the cat. It is going to get 2 points because it's not grain-free or raw, so 2 there. As far as this guaranteed analysis, we know we're not going to use that because we're going to use the chart that has the exacts. Here's the adequacy statement, so that's the next important thing. The Nulo Challenger and Alpine Ranch puppy and adult. So right there, that's a warning sign. You can't be a puppy and an adult. It's one or the other. You can't be both. You can't be a puppy and be an adult. You can be an adult that feels like a puppy, but you're still an adult. Beef, lamb, and pork recipe is formulated to lose a point there for the AFCO nutrient profile for all life stages except for the growth of large breed puppies. And so they're going to lose 2 points. So as you can see, they're saying all life stages, but it's not really even all life stages because it's not all life stages because they are having to exclude the large breed puppy life stage. So the life stages are like this. You have an adult, you have pregnant and lactating, you have puppy, you have a large breed puppy, and you have that's it, an adult. That's it. You don't have, there is no actual definable life stage for senior. There is no definable life stage for, some of these other things. So like medium dog, all that kind of stuff. It's large breed puppy, regular puppy. Oh no, the lights are flickering because we are in the middle of a hurricane right now. So we're going to try to get this video finished up for you guys. Oh no. Okay. Anyway, you get it. There's a, whatever I was saying. Oh no. Okay. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. I actually do have a generator because I can switch the generator on, but then it's going to be extremely loud, and it's probably already extremely loud because the kids are home and the husband's home and the TV is on, and I hope it's not too distracting, but we're just going to keep going here. Where was I? I don't even remember where I was. Okay, anyway, they get no points for the nutritional adequacy statement. So 2 points for ingredients, none for that. Let's go to the complete nutrient profile, and we're going to compare this to our adult dog parameters from Small Animal Clinical Nutrition, just like the cat. Alright, over here on the right side, dry matter basis, protein at 40% is excessive. So there we are, way too much protein. And with way too much protein, a lot of times that brings way too much calcium and phosphorus. So calcium should be no more than 1, phosphorus no more than 0.8. And so let's go down to minerals. 2.5 on calcium, 1.6 on the phosphorus. And so way too much. This is way in excess. This is not appropriate for an adult dog nutritionally. It is just not. Okay, you say, well, maybe my dog is really active and things like that. That may be the case, but when you have a pet that is active, it is not the protein. Yes, they do need protein, but it is not excessive amount of proteins that give them the energy they need to perform. It is actually the fat. That's where they draw their energy from. And so it is a common misconception that is the case. And so we want to avoid excess protein, calcium, and phosphorus for your pet to be healthy. You know, an active dog needs those kidneys to work, and we don't want to overload them by giving too many minerals and too much protein. So that's what's happening here. So they're going to lose 3 points on that. We also need to check out the fat, because we just talked about that. It needs to be between 10 and 20. Their fat is a little bit excess at 20.29, so I can't give them a point there just because it's my point scoring system and it's not going to deviate from the rules, but it's not a horrible loss there, but they are losing it there. So right now we've got 0 points on the nutritional guideline, which to me the nutrients are most important. So I'm not really happy about that. Fiber should be less than 5. I'm going to be really shocked if they're off on the fiber too. Oh my gosh. Seriously? They're off on the fiber too. I don't think I've ever had a food that had 0 points on the guaranteed analysis. I'm shocked. I really am shocked. Okay, I am really, really, really shocked. This food is a complete nutritional nightmare, just from a nutritional standpoint. I don't care if they put, personally, in this food filet mignon. If the nutrients are not there, which they're not, I'm concerned about feeding it, personally. So yeah, 0 points there. So far, this food is getting 2 points for the ingredient list, not being grain-free and not raw. That is it. Oh boy. Okay, let's go to the feeding guidelines. So maybe we can redeem ourselves, but it'll only be 1 point because there's only 1 point here. So the best we can hope for is a 3 at this point. 20-pound dog. They don't really say exactly for 20. They say 16 to 25. So we are going to actually have to calculate that. So let me calculate that really quick for you. So we do 20 pounds. 11 times 11. Times 70. If you guys want to learn how to do that calculation, check out my resting energy requirement, and you too can calculate. But for those of you that are following at home, gives you 422. And this food is 438. And they're saying 1.5, so 438 times 6, way too much. Way too much. 422 if we use the multiplier. 633 if you use the 1.6 multiplier. Or excuse me, 675 if you use the multiplier. Was that close to 675? So that was close. I'll give them a point there just because to get a 2 would just be really sad. So we're gonna give them a point there. 3 points. Okay. Not great on the dog. The dog wasn't great for this brand. Let's see what it's going to cost. They don't on this website. Let's see, shop now. Do they tell you how much it's going to cost? No, it's available on stores and online. So the Nulo Challenger Beef Lamb Pork Alpine 24-pound bag is going to cost you $102.99. That is a lot. 102. So that's what it's going to cost you, $102 for the cat one that we reviewed. So let's try that. Yeah, it's this one. So it's going to be auto ship $49.39 if you do the auto ship on a 14-pound bag, and $51.99 if you do just the regular not auto ship on the cat version. Alright, so summing everything up, the dog only got 3 points, and that was just 3 points. So, you know, think of that, Will. Cat ended up getting, I think it was 5 points, and so, you know, take this information and process it. See what you guys think. Remember that nutrients are key, and then everything else after that is additional and superfluous. So we want to make sure the nutrients are right, and then once the nutrients are right, then we can start adding in some of like these bonus things. So I hope that made sense for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys will hang out with me again, and I will see you in my next video.